As the election for the Federation ramps up, it's becoming clear that despite Alexander Pokrishkin's prior political ascendancy, that he's being challenged to that very ascendancy by none other than Vasily Shushkin, the mayor of Barnaul. Both men occupy highly prestigious and very important positions within the Federation, but over the years they've come to represent two very different currents of thought in regards to the Federation itself. Alexander Pokrishkin, the man that saved the Federation from itself and engineered its highly successful ascent, has campaigned on a platform of economic expansion, national stability, and measured patriotism. Vasily Shushkin, on the other hand, represents the opposition to Pokrishkin's monopoly on power. Comprised of locals from Barnaul, supporters of a liberal democratic federation, dissenters turned traitors from Pokrishkin's camp, Shushkin's platform is focused around political reform and emphasis of a return to the roots, culturally and politically, especially in regards to remembering the origin of the Federation and distaste for tyranny. As each respective political player begins their campaign, only time will tell which one of the two will come up on top. We're going to campaign as Shushkin, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, by the way. My name is DB333. In the last video, we united Siberia and went ahead and set up the Siberian Federation. So yeah, it's now time for election season. As a result of growing tensions among the leadership of the Federation, the co-rulers have decided to put an election to put an end to these tensions. Each of the candidates will jockey for support from the various groups in the Federation and will undoubtedly work to undermine each other. Well, let's appeal to the common people. Our cause is one for the masses, not the corrupt Soloviks in their ivory towers. The common people, Russian, we offer what we have to give: reforms, freedom, and self-determination. We promise as much as we can give in our power to make their lives better. More importantly, however, we will be contrasting this to what the Soloviks have been given the common Russian for the last several years: stagnancy, oppression, and corruption. Increase the support by a moderate amount. Let's go ahead and, what do we want to do? Let's extend the Volkomats. Controlling Siberia and the people who live in it has always been a challenge for the past Russian governments. It will no doubt be a challenge for us as well. This is made no easier by the fact that Eastern Siberia is now crawling with ex-military men who fought for one leader or another that now find themselves with nothing to do but grow bitter and resentful of our new rule. These men could be dangerous, but they also present an opportunity. The Volkomats, our system of military commissariats, has proven successful in maintaining our control of a nation and keeping extremist organizations on the run. Expanding the system to encompass our new territory would help lock down the East. Recruiting disaffected army officers, blackshirts, and NKVD agents into the Volkomats would give us a way to put the skills of these unpleasant people to work for us, while placing them firmly under our control. I mean, makes sense to me. Heavy jet engines. I think for now, we're working on the advanced fighters. It's time to go ahead and do it. Let's talk to sympathetic officers, actually. The country we live on, once a mere warlord state, was built not just by statesmen, but by soldiers and their lion-hearted leaders. Thus, officers of the military are deeply respected, and although many are apolitical, there are a good few who are deeply interested in the workings of our nation. Among them, there should be those sympathetic to our cause, to freeing the country from the shackles of the Soloviks. We should approach them and make sure they stay on our side, and see about using their ample resources. Amit Khan Sultan was surprised with the size of Vasily Shushkin's office. He imagined the man challenging Pokrishkin for the presidency of the Federation would have a corner office with large windows framing an impressive desk and rows of file cabinets and bookshelves along the walls. Shushkin's workplace was not that. It was not quite a wall and closet, but it wasn't far off. Shushkin knows the military man, looking around with a puzzled expression, chuckled. I know it isn't much, but when you're challenging an incumbent president from within his own government, it isn't a surprise when your accommodations get suddenly downgraded. Sultan nodded. My current office has a nice view of the river. Suppose I shouldn't get too attached to it in case this meeting becomes public knowledge. Shushkin grinned and nodded. Speaking of, I have another meeting in a few minutes, so let's get down to business. I don't want you to risk that view for nothing. Very well, Sultan said, holding out a file he held under his arm. This is a list of officers in the military I believe might be sympathetic to our cause. Take a look and let me know who you want me to contact. Shushkin opened the files and glanced over the list of names. Do you trust these men? Sultan hesitated before he spoke. They are talented and loyal to the Federation. Some I trust more than others, which I mentioned in the file, but I think all of them are at least potentially persuadable. Shukskin nodded. Very good. That's all for now. I'll get back to you tomorrow with a list of who I want to contact first. Sultan turned to walk out of a tiny office. There was work to be done. It's time to find out where the military stands. Pukrishkin is making moves. Uh-oh. Shukskin waited for the phone on his desk to ring. He'd been waiting for half an hour, performing meaningless tasks to keep himself occupied while his eyes continued to drift over the phone. It'd been a long day and a long night too, but his phone call he was waiting for would determine whether he would go to bed pleased or disappointed. He hadn't ruled out going to sleep before the call. Even if it wasn't unprofessional, his nerves would not have left him. Suddenly the phone clattered to life, and despite a long wait, it still caught Shukskin by surprise. He hurriedly picked up and said one word. Sultan. Mr. Shukskin. I apologize for the delay. I was trying to work something out at the last minute before I called. His tone was professional, but there was a hint of disappointment in his voice it couldn't fully cover. I take it you didn't get anyone then? Worse, I got an influential army captain by the name of Pukrishov. He and several of his comrades were ready to endorse you, but he made too much noise and was found out. He was discharged and replaced within the hour, and now no one will even speak to me. Not if it puts their careers on the line. Shukskin couldn't hold back for the long sigh that followed. That's disappointing. Thank you for your efforts, Sultan. I know you did your best, and things got out of hand. I appreciate that, sir. I will keep trying, and I'm still willing to endorse you, but advise your future campaign strategy to not rely on any support from the military. Good night. The line went dead. Shukskin put the phone back where it sat and rubbed his temples. He did not sleep well that night. Well, Pukrishkin's catching back up. But so be it. Captain Ivan Brantov led his men through the streets of Irkutsk in the dead of night. His men moved like a well-oiled machine through the darkness. They were deep in the industrial districts of Irkutsk, closing in on the worker housing that had dotted the outskirts of factories. Their mission was a simple one, to root out the elements of Yugova's NKVD that survived the strife in the Far East. As they approached their target, he motioned for his men to split into two teams. His team would breach the front of the enemy structure, an abandoned apartment complex. The second team, under the command of Lieutenant Yugolev, would be tasked with breaching the rear entry and preventing the enemy from making retreat. Ivan approached the doorways into the building unmolested, and had his men stacked up on the doors. His men entered the building and were met with an eerie silence. The men went about securing the first floor and found nothing. There was no sign this floor had been inhabited for years. Ivan left three men behind in the lobby to act as a rear guard and pressed forward towards the stairwell. This would be the most dangerous part of the operation, traversing the stairwell into the second and third floors. He crept up the stairs slowly, keeping watch for any sort of traps. It was as he ascended the last step that he heard the gunfire from the base of the stairs. They had used the elevator shaft to get behind them. Ivan began to shout out orders but was cut off as he had to dive for cover as the soldiers on the second floor opened fire. He was only able to take rare potshots at assailants. He was able to drop one before being hit in the shoulder. His rifle clattered from his grasp and fell down the stairwell. He cursed and drew his sidearm, only to be perforated by fire from a man on the stairs above him. Ivan's body tumbled onto his men below. Before the NKVD could celebrate, the rear team made their appearance. The communists were defeated, but it was a Pyrrhic victory at best. What a mess. Okay, we're going to need some political power coming up soon. Life had never been easy for Ruslan or his family. Not under the communists, not under the fascists, and not so far, at least, under the new regime of federation. They had always been poor in the extreme, and Ruslan had watched as his father, his uncle, and his older brother worked themselves into the ground, trying to keep their farm working. He had fought that to be his eventual fate as well, but then, accompanying his father into the village to sell the produce, he'd seen the poster. Men were needed, it said, to fill out the many new commissariats the Federation had established throughout the Far East, to help distribute supplies, provide order, and, of course, secure the land for the state. It also offered pay far in excess of what Ruslan could earn selling vegetables. And so, after seeing his father to market, he would walk towards the enlistment booth set up in the square. His father had not been happy, but he had in the end understood. Ruslan was trying to secure a better future for himself, and the man could not begrudge his son that, allowing him to part with his blessing. Ruslan could only hope that he was successful. A boy departs, will a man return? Our eastern bastion. The port city of Magadan used to be so insignificant it didn't even appear on the maps of eastern Russia. During the decades of anarchy, it became important because it was Russia's largest unoccupied port, but even then, after years of improvement made by the various warlords who have controlled it, it's still barely up to the task of performing as our primary port. Rebuilding Russia would require doing significant amounts of trading and business with the nations of the world, and our ability to trade with them is limited by our port's capacity. Both businesses and government officials have been urging us to invest more into Magadan and to complete its transformation into the new doorstep to the world. Ask and they shall receive. Magadan will become worthy of that responsibility thrust upon it, and we shall finally have full unfettered access to the global marketplace. Beautiful. It has been reported of central government that the efforts of a national anti-partisan task force have continued to show considerable effort across the territories in which they have been deployed. Executed operations against remnants of both the RFP as well as various communist organs have proven highly successful, with only several reported failures. Large numbers of insurgent dissidents have been captured or killed, enormous quantities of material have been captured, and insurgent leaderships have been greatly compromised. Concurrently, elements of state governments have returned to or been established in areas declared secure from partisan influence. This has not only returned life to normal for millions of our citizens, but greatly strengthened our control of and extraction from the regions in question. However, we must take care not to grow complacent. Though activity has, through vigorous and sometimes bloody action, decreased, fanatical elements do remain, and they are still to be considered extremely dangerous. We must stay the course until our lands are secured and purge the partisan elements. For good. The campaign continues. Still looking good for us, I think. But Krishkin is making moves. Just about balanced. The combination of ingenuity and determination, our designers have managed to produce a modern, capable combat aircraft. The MiG-25 prototype has recently completed its first round of testing, and results have been good, but the prototype has fallen short in several areas. The MiG has demonstrated an operational speed of Mach 2.83 and maximum speed of Mach 3.6, making it one of the fastest combat aircraft ever designed. However, it is unusually heavy for an interceptor aircraft, and its weight has been necessitated unusually larger wings for a plane of its class. Our pilots have shown an ability to fight effectively at the MiG E-25's high speed, but have noticed that the plane is less maneuverable than they would prefer. The design still has several issues to be resolved, but the MiG-25 will soon be fully ready for production and deployment, and once it takes to the skies, it will be able to stand against any air force in the world. There we go. I'll take that. Let's save up 20 PP for now. Oh, Jesus. Oh! 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 Fuck, I meant to read that. God damn it. Oh, fuck. Damn it. Alright, this. Oh, fuck. Our military is one of the best in Russia. Our reunification of Siberia is proof enough of that for anyone. But being the best in Russia does not mean that we are ready to take on the world. So far, our military has fought bandits and warlords and semi-industrialized regional rivals, but we have yet to take on full modern war-ready military power. And considering the dangerous state of the world, we may have to sooner than we'd like. The technological gap between our forces and those of the Germans and Japanese is shrinking due to the heroic efforts of our design bureaus, but technology alone does not make a modern army. It does not matter how good the gun is if the man is too afraid to fire it. Our army is not a disorganized rabble, but its discipline still leaves room for improvement. We shall see that these improvements are made, and our men are refined into hardened warriors, ready for the conflicts ahead. We'll go ahead and appeal to the common people. Always a classic. Ho Chi Minh. R.I.P. Build ships. Man, we can actually build ships. We'll work on a submarine and a, some destroyers. Why not? A hard, long life of farming would certainly have prepared Ruslan for the leaderships of military training, or so he had thought. The reality was much different. The man of the enlistment station had been all smiles. His boot camp instructor was all frowns, along with shouting and anger besides. He woke every morning in the pitch dark, marched until he was exhausted, instructed, and then tested on the lessons afterwards, shoveled as much food down as possible, and then fell into an exhaustive sleep, only to repeat the process the next day. Despite the hardships, however, Ruslan could not say he hated the experience. He was learning skills, both military and organizational. He was making many friends besides. Friends from all over the region, from areas he'd only ever heard of in passing, and they were fascinating. He could not wait until he completed training and got a chance to see the lands of whatever region he was assigned to. He knew now that this was to be his destiny, his career, the better future he had hoped for. Enthusiasm is always to be valued. Let's denounce corruption. Ooh. Look at that. Let's go ahead and spread the side plan. Before the war, Central Siberia was the site of one of the greatest planned industrial developments in history. The side plan transformed a backwards region to an industrial hub and a center of production. Our newly acquired eastern territories were mostly untouched by the side plan, and their minuscule industry pales in comparison to that of our heartland. The East must be brought up to standard. We shall develop the Far East in the same way that the Soviets developed inland Siberia. A program of state-planned industrial projects will serve as the foundation for the new production centers in the East. It will go further than the Soviets, though. While their SIB plan was strictly managed by the state, ours will collaborate with local corporations, helping establish strong private industry in the Far East. Alright, we can get working on some more factories coming up. We'll do so in this general area. Do some in Tomsk. Grishkin is making some more moves. Let's meet with some democratic activists. Find peace and death. Alright, next let's go ahead and do... Let's found essential funding the Bureau. Excuse me. We already found it. We need to fund it now. When Russia was fractured into dozens of warlords, the armies and pilots of Novosibirsk had only one advantage over their foes. While they could not match the numbers or fanaticism of their opponents, they knew that they were always fighting for the best equipment Russia had to offer. This was solely because of its Central Design Bureau and the fantastic, innovative weapon it produced. The days of warlords are behind us, but the Bureau still provides its worth. Its staff of designers, engineers, scientists, and entrepreneurs are all working around the clock to make the next breakthrough that will change how wars are fought forever. We must increase our investment in the Bureau, and now that we have access to more wealth and resources than ever before. If we could create groundbreaking new aircraft on a shoestring budget, imagine what they will be able to do with the resources of all of Russia at their disposal. Speaking of all of Russia, I'm very curious. Could we take them over right now? Crisis in Nanjing. My fingers are crossed for you guys. Our influence is dropping pretty quickly right after the fact. But keep putting on military pressure. So far, so good. Order collapse in Egypt. We can go ahead and denounce corruption. We can make appeals to the people. I'm curious about this speech in Barnaul. Let's do some national priority products. It's clear everywhere you look that Russia is rebuilding. Shops are opening, vacant buildings are being filled, and new ones are being built. Shelves are fully stocked for the first time ever, and the people are going back to work, but there's still much to do. We have come far, but there's still a long way to go before Russia is fully ready to retake its place on the modern global stage. It's our duty as a motherland's government to help her get there. To assist for recovery and rebuilding efforts, 4 programs have been selected for government funding and support, dubbed national priority products by the media. They focus on improving public health, access to education, housing availability and quality, and agricultural development. By supporting improvements in these 4 vital areas, we are progressing towards a point where Russia is not just reunified, but rebuilt and prosperous at last. Okay, Pukrishkin is still making moves. I'll do a quick appeal to the people. And we'll probably be able to... We're doing pretty well already. I'm not going to worry about the nuke stuff. I won't bother with it. We will let it be. So long as Spain's being the council. Yeah, Iberia is on fucking fire. I don't know what else to say. And yeah, we won't worry about nukes. Let's do the speech in Barnaul. It's the heart of a democratic movement where it all began. We shall hold a rally there for all Russians to see, and Shushkin will make his case for people. He will do so through an impassioned speech before crowds of his supporters and the radios of a folk across the nation. Hopefully the message of freedom will ring true in the hearts of those who open their ears to it. Ooh. On a normal night, the Barnaul Theatre would be hosting a local musician or an amateur dramatic company. Day being a new production, would draw a decent audience of the residents of the city whose name the theatre bore. But this was normal night. The main event was not scheduled to start for 2 more hours, and there's already lines around the block. As soon as the doors opened, people excitedly filled in, taking any seat they could find. Within half an hour of opening the doors, the Barnaul had to close them again. The first time in decades every seat in the house was full. Even the standing room in the back was packed solid. The excited chanting of the audience suddenly quieted as the lights winced and then dimmed, a sign that things were about to begin. From the backstage, Vasily Shushkin took one last deep breath, patted his speech in his pocket, and walked out into the light. The silent theater immediately roared back to life, all 2,500 people there clapping and cheering for him before he even said a word. As he took the podium, he couldn't help but grin like an idiot. "Thank you, Barnaul," he said, the speakers allowing him to make himself heard over the clamor. The speech was supposed to last 30 minutes, but with the audience cheering and chanting, it stretched almost an hour. Additional speakers outside the theater delivered Shushkin's words to the even larger crowd outside on the streets. The next morning, the headline in every major newspaper in the Federation was about Shushkin's rally. Most touted as a huge victory, a massive sign of enthusiasm for the opposition candidate. Even papers loyal to Pukrishkin couldn't help but acknowledge the rally had been a success for his opponent. We'll need a bigger venue next time. Oh! Beautiful! That doesn't mean we get complacent. In fact, that's the last thing we should become right now, but that's a good sign. German missile deployment in Ceylon. Hold up, what? Did they add this? What the fuck? Uh-oh. What? They're a packed observer. Wow. Oh, please. I don't want thermonuclear war. Don't do it. Appeal to the common people. Experiment has ended in failure. Sorry, man. I had to do it to you. Now we'll go ahead and put that there. What now? Military construction 4. Lane doctrine. Air-ground task forces. Let's add some new air wings. Fly them over. We'll do some pilot exercises, I think. We can integrate some stuff. Let's announce corruption, though. First and foremost. Oh. Yeah. It's not even close so far. Holy shit. Are we sure this is a democracy? Jesus. Let's integrate Uralsk. God damn. Flying of Spain versus the battalions. Man. Meet with some democratic activists. Sit the fuck down, bitch. We're the captain now. We're running the election. Some better guns. Speaking of better guns, let's head over here. Get the AKM. I think we're just working on integrating stuff right now. Almaty will be next. Oh, actually, real quick. Let's increase political pressure too. Why not? You know, knock on wood, I think we're good. And just to reemphasize that, we'll denounce corruption once more. Vasily Shushkin was many things. A writer, actor, and poet, a mayor, and politician. He had climbed his way from the son of peasants in Altai to become the second most powerful man in the Federation, the champion of democracy. However, as he sat home waiting for the results coming, all he could feel was trepidation. Months' worth of campaigning, dozens of speeches, rallies, and meetings, weeks of courting corporate representatives, and sympathetic Solovsky had led to this. He had crisscrossed Siberia from Magadan to Kolpashevo, and now the only thing he could do was wait. Shushkin stared at the bottle of vodka on his desk, resisting the temptation to pour himself a drink. Pukrishkin and his allies would use every trick in the books to keep themselves in power, and all he could do was hope that the will of a people would be enough. But tallies came in agonizingly slowly, Shushkin's heart soaring as every positive result and sinking with every poor showing. But they were clear. Putting the bottle aside, Shushkin made preparations to move to Novosibirsk. The people had spoken, and they wanted Pukrishkin out. Democracy breathes. The RPP becomes a ruling party. Pukrishkin becomes second in command, I think. Beautiful. Born in 1929 in Altai Krai, Vasily Makarovich Shushkin was an aspiring author prior to his dabbling in politics and his election as the mayor of Barnaul. Shushkin has trekked a long road so far, once would seem endless. A prior ally of Pukrishkin, where the Federation had just seceded from the Central Siberian Republic, Vasily quickly came to head with his former ally and his corporate associates, their creeping corruption clashing with Shushkin's ideas of democracy and federalism, ideals keeping his head afloat as he arranged backroom deals and negotiated necessarily for his candidacy as president of the Federation to take a chance. Now newly elected and having wrestled control away from the country from the Siloviks, Vasily isn't in a position to sit back and relax. But if the Siloviks aren't in control anymore, the president has to deal with still very present corporations and the damages their corruption has caused and is still causing to the Republic. If he wants to see this budding democracy bloom in the desert that is Russia, he will have to face the troubles caused undoubtedly by corporations during his tenure as president. Fair enough, but hey, can move towards a glorious future. To be Russian these days is to watch destiny unfold before your eyes. It is to see a nation rising from the ashes like a phoenix, born from the most unlikely of embers. No one could have guessed an ace pilot leading a ragtag band of military men and disaffected local politicians would establish the next government of Russia. Who would have guessed a warlord operating out of Novosibirsk would reunify the entirety of eastern Russia against the odds? The Federation has persisted and now it stands triumphing, its final victory drawing near. To be Russian these days is to stand in the middle of a point of a long road. Behind you are the decades of suffering and violence that have been overcome. Ahead lies great uncertainty, and the potential for conflict to put all the hardship from the past to shame. But there's also the potential for something brighter, something better. Russia has come so far, so quickly. The only thing left to do is to keep pushing forwards to whatever lies at the end of the road. That was beautiful, damn. Let's increase the military pressure. Maybe you can't quite yet. There we go. Oh. History repeats itself. Observing as his men went about their intermittent duties, General Vasily Margolov knew that, if nothing else, he had at least made his soldiers ready for what was to come. The Federation was strong, but these men were stronger. The Federation stood ready at last to reunite the motherland by any means necessary. These men would lead the charge in any future conflict towards the goal. They had truly become a unit he could be proud of, as a father is of his children. One of them walked to him, delivering a perfectly crisp salute before beginning to deliver a scheduled report. Margolov could barely make out the words, however, too lost in his own thoughts. As confident as he was in their ability, only more hardship awaited them now, as they began to move west. He was confident that they were ready, of course. The question was, would being ready be enough? There's no way of knowing if even the best of Russia's soldiers could win the wars to come, and more importantly, which of them would make it back alive. As a man before him finished his report, Margolov noted and sent him off, to be alone with his thoughts and anxieties. A father worries for his children, just as he is proud of them. But hey, I'm not too worried about all this. So we'll just focus on the front. The organization formerly known as the West Russian Revolutionary Front. Actually, might as well do a little. Nah. It doesn't matter. We could integrate stuff, but I'm more focused on the prize ahead. Can we not? Yeah, it's probably... yeah. Okay. It's probably still too early to do that. Never mind. It was worth a shot. Oh! Look at that. When's a change? The people have spoken, and their will is clear. After years of rule, Alexander Pukrishkin has finally tasted defeat at the ballot box, and Vasily Shushkin has been elected to lead the Federation forward to a bright new future. Shushkin and his supporters have announced a plan for a bold new wave of liberalization and reforms that they say will finally bring freedom and democracy to all of Russia. While Shushkin's supporters are celebrating his victory, those who already backed Pukrishkin's continued rule are already voicing their concerns. The leaders of the military have expressed reservations about a weakening of central government, and the boards of Russia's new megacorporations expect it will be much more difficult to deal with a government that is truly beholden to the interests of the people. Let them complain all they like. They shall be the first tyrants to fall before the might of free Russia, but not the last. Well, there we go. Oh, there's old man Pukrishkin. The second president of the Siberian Federation turns towards the rapt audience, the thousands eagerly waiting for the first words of his inaugural address. He didn't have a prepared speech per se. He couldn't fix the country's many problems with a professional speechwriter. No, this was to the start of a new administration. The people had suffered enough, first from Bukharin's authoritarianism and mismanagement, then from the CSR and their misguided idealism, who had gotten so many killed in their failed wars. Finally, Pukrishkin and his corporate backers, who in their endless pursuit of civilian wealth, had forgotten the average Russian. There would be no more of that, not on his watch. Some may have sympathized with his cause, Sabir and their backers, but Phoenix, Titan, and the rest of them were venal, corrupt, heartless, ruled by 100 would-be dictators. To hell with them. The supremacy of his corporations, the rise of Solovsky, the bastardization of the Federation's ideals. Those had been the final straws, the acts which made good people stand up and retake their destiny. And so he spoke. Fellow citizens, I've not come to begin a revolution. I've come to fulfill the ideals of which we have not forgotten. The crowd cheered wildly. He smiled, basking in the love of his fellow citizens. It would be a long, hard road, but President Shukshin knew he could make things right again. The winds have changed. Boost of conservative democracy. Demokratizaya. Shukshin's victory is a triumph for the cause of Russian freedom, but it's only the first step on the road towards democracy. Pukrishkin and his toadies spent years building up their powers and doing their damnedest to turn Russia into a one-party state once more. Undoing their efforts will take time, and we must begin with small reforms to prepare the nation for the great changes it has in store. Soon the government will launch a new initiative called Demokratizaya, democratization. Starting at the local level, people of Russia will now be able to elect their leaders and representatives. Once a sufficient permanent election structure is in place, we will be able to organize regularly scheduled elections at last. Other early reforms will include passing term limits and preparing to implement a separation of powers among the various departments of the government. Sounds well and good. Let's just integrate some more stuff. Air ground task forces. Still can't quite take over. We'll see what happens in 71. The GUI just might not be displaying that information, if I had to guess. And we'll be able to do it in 61. That's what I'm hoping. Because I'd really rather not go to war with old man Zhukov. Okay, next up. Will curb the corporations. A new piece of legislation has been introduced recently that would put in place some token reform limitations on the activities of corporations. The limits are trivial at best and mostly have to do with implementing the bare minimum of government oversight on stock trading. The proposed law has still attracted significant attention from people and corporations for one reason. Used to be the case that legislation like this would be shot down immediately before even going to vote, but this is no longer the case. President Shukshin will place his full support behind the law and encourage his supporters to do the same. On paper, it really is little more than a token effort, but it will signal to the whole nation that Shukshin is no crony of the corporations. We may not be able to end their influence right away, but we can make it clear to the world that the days of the Russian companies exploiting the Russian people for foreign money will soon be over. How's our economy doing? Not the best. Construction. Let's get these new guns going. Beautiful. For what seemed like the 100th time that day, Vasily Shukshin looked over legislation crowding the president. No, his desk. It was still hard to believe that the presidency, for so long the preview of Pukrishkin and Zilk, was now in the hands of a peasant from Altai. But he was here, and it was his. Picking up one of the many pages on his desk, Shukskin looked over once more, slowly flipping through its contents. Workers' protections, new regulations encompassing lobbying, and other vectors of corporate influence, stringent antitrust laws. It wouldn't be enough to defang the corporations, not by a long shot. Their influence reached far too deep for mere piece of legislation to reverse the impact of a decade of unfettered exploitation. But it was a start. The corporate giants in Pokrishkin's clique would fight them every step of the way. There were lackeys in Vaduma and Vasilovsky, who had long been paid off with corporate gold. Shukskin, however, had the will of the people and the power of the presidency on his side. It's good to be president. Finally, the dreams of federation. When it was originally conceived, the Russian Federation was supposed to be Russia's best chance at democracy. The idealism of Central Siberian Republic was always doomed to failure. The Federation could provide a practical, reasonable alternative that would reunite Russian lands and people and secure a future defined by freedom and stability. What it morphed into under Pokrishkin's rule was a bastardized, authoritarian imitation of the original goal, but the damage can still be undone. Slowly, surely, the people of Russia are starting to wake up. They are realizing that his new president's promises are not false and his words are not empty. The Russian Federation really can be a nation of practical democracy rather than corrupt authoritarianism. After decades of bitter winters, spring is coming to the motherland. Beautiful. Absolutely fantastic. Increase the political pressure. And look at how weak these guys are. God damn. It was early in the morning when the two men met in one of the many rooms of the presidential palace, flames flickering in the fireplace, snow melt falling from the frost-covered roof, the new and former president of the Siberian Federation glancing at each other uneasily. They had been friends once, comrades in arms during the final days of the Republic. Those days were gone, a friendship strained, and broken amidst the rise of Federation. Where did it all go wrong, Vasily? Where did we lose our way? Shukskin glanced at Pokrishkin's voice, the Falcon of Siberia staring down into his drink. There was no malice in his eyes, no resentment, just a colorless pallor and resigned expression. Shukskin stared at his own drink, for he had no response, no answer to the question that he himself had pondered on many sleepless nights. He could faintly remember the optimism of the Federation's early days, the final break from a decaying republic amidst the chaos of a Siberian war, an anarchist revolt. A time where the Federation seemed to have a place for everyone, regardless of ideology or wealth, before the corruption and cynicalism set in, before the rise of Solovsky and corporations. He could point to many a time where he or Pokrishkin should have stepped in, should have moved to rein in the excesses of a system, but the Federation itself was a reaction, a result of a failed idealism of poets and artists in Tomsk. Perhaps the cynicism which arose in idealism's place was simply yet another inevitable. Another result of the Republic's failures. Shukskin looked back up at his compatriot. The Falcon was waiting for an answer, and so he spoke the honest truth. I don't know, Pokrishkin. I don't know. Is that the Burgundian system? Uh-oh. We'll do it. We'll do the nuclear research because I don't know what else to do. Go ahead, increase the military pressure. Do. Man, we are off the compass. Holy shit. God damn. Let's do flexible automation techniques. We'll core up some more territories. Advanced artillery. Establish close facilities. Do some more building. Not much to build in Kazakhstan. The land there is not very nice, I gotta say. Irkutsk, though, can build some there. Cheetah, that'd be good to build there. Blagochevsk, Magadan. Actually, we'll hold off on building in Magadan. Naval dockyards. Of course. Only place we can build them, might as well get on it. Can approach some emigre scientists. Nah, not that important. Increase military pressure. I'll keep going for now, I think. Oh, better army professionalism. Beautiful. Foundation for research. We'll go with that for now. Advanced anti-tank equipment. Beautiful. I'm gonna kick back, just kind of watch how this all goes. Yeah, they're doing the same as us right now. Iraq collapses into civil war. Who would have thought? Instability in Iraq. The oil crisis. People do not want words. They want the sound of battle. The battle of destiny. Abdel Nasser. Next we'll corp at Toby. However you say that. Ah, man. Address the uranium problem. Siberian mines. Expand across 20 hours, which will be good. More industrial capacity. Our influence is starting to drop a bit. We'll put on more pressure militarily. We'll probably do the political pressure following that. Yeah, for now we're good. Expand the Siberian mines. Do whichever that is. Source of foreign materials. Sure. Anti-tank. Let's get that building. Infantry anti-tank 5. We'll just keep hovering. We'll alternate between military pressure and increasing the military pressure. Support weapons 5. We'll do some improved motorized. And then chase the sun, man. Uh-oh. Be careful, my friends. Don't do anything. Haste. Come on, Japan. Keep working on all that. I guess more artillery. Resource extraction. Increase some political pressure. And then come December, or January, we should be able to integrate them, I think. I want to say, at least. And we'll come back come January. I'm not sweating it. Not one bit. And if not, I guess we have to, you know, go to war. All that good shit. Alright, let's see if we can't... Bam. Oh, this is fucking... What do we want to core up? Let's core up Perm. And then we might as well reunify the motherland, my friends. Having emerged victorious in the power struggle following the collapse of the Central Siberian Republic, the Federation of Novosibirsk and Altai has gone on to expand across all of Russia, integrating or crushing any rival to its rule. Formerly dominating by the local strongmen, the eponymous Solovsky ruling incorporation with corporate interests, the newly inaugurated Russian Federation has appeared to turn a new leaf with the election of Vasily Shushkin. Espousing policies of environmentalism, anti-corporatism, and increased democratic participation, President Shushkin marks a turn away from the corruption and cynicism which has run rife in the nation, even as the Federation looks west, seeking new friends and challenging old foes for the liberation of Russia. United and free. Something remains in us from the homeland that it lives, in us all our life, now gladdening, at times tormenting, and it always seems that we will someday see it. Our homeland. Vasily Shushkin. Shushkin. Oh, I sure as hell hope I don't get a copyright strike for this funky music. Anyway, dreams of federation. And so, dusk settles on the new order. That was it, ladies and gentlemen. I had fun with that series. It was pretty fun. I gotta say, hey, better state than Cyberpunk 2077 is right now. Ooh. Wait. The bright rising sun illuminated the waters of Yob with a brilliant glow, orange splotches dancing amidst its glimmering waters. They were cleaner now, thanks to the new regulations, and you could see several families picnicking along the river banks. Shushkin allowed himself a small drink as he took in the sight, remembering his excursion to the waterfront nearly a decade ago. Unchecked corporate excess, and institutional corruption, a government run by and for local strongmen. He had changed all that. No longer did the corporate greed dictate policy and law. No longer were the working class squeezed for every penny. There is still much to be done, of course. Fair regulations, the issue of Pokrishkin's clique, increased federalization, and the ever-pressing matter of hated Germans. Yet as he saw workers joking around in the fields just beyond the river, and families enjoying a vacation for the first time in years, Shushkin felt something stir inside of him. The idealism which was once so infectious in the early days of the Central Siberian Republic. He was doing this for them, for the people, for Russia, all of Russia. Not just those born into power, those blessed by circumstance. He remembered those days, the headlines and optimism, and how everything fell apart under the strain of Siberian War, the fighting against the anarchists, the food riots, the shootings. He poured himself another drink as the morning sun rose high in the sky. The CSR may have fallen under the strain of war, but the Federation, his Federation, was different, stronger, and more robust, yet no less concerned for the welfare of its citizens. It was different than the Central Siberian Republic. It had to be, or everything would have been for nothing. And now dusk approaches the new order. That's a nice little bow to wrap everything up. And with that, I'm gonna wrap it up here, ladies and gentlemen. I had fun with this. I was curious. I heard some mechanics were overpowered and ridiculous, and I was not disappointed, let me tell you. Oh my god. Absolutely insane. How kind of just outright broken some of this is. Not that I'm complaining. I had fun with it. We didn't have to fight really a single war past our unification stage. Man, it was fun. Fun enough story. Kind of optimistic near the end. The Kingdom of Spain. Okay, hold on. Okay, that's weird. Anyway, optimistic towards the end, which was nice to see, especially near the end of kind of a bleaker story than I'm used to. I read a Reddit post saying like, "Oh, this is the bleak, like this is very bleak for this is a horrible outcome for Russia, even the democratic path." And someone said that fucking Yagoda's path was somehow more optimistic and better for Russia. Which was like, what? Are you fucking kidding me? I see the bleakness, but I think especially with Shukskin's path, it's a solid option for reunification. Probably not the best. I don't know what would be the best. But you know, I'm optimistic about this future for Russia. And plus, that music fucking slaps. So yeah. Thanks for watching, ladies and gentlemen. If you liked this video, leave a like. If not, feel free to dislike. If you want to see more of this content in the future, go ahead and hit the sub button from uploads every weekday, as well as every Saturday. And a friendly reminder that we're trying to hit 1,000 subs by the end of the year, which hopefully, this is still 2020, we already hit that goal by now, but if not, darn. We have a sub goals, 800 for Japan, which I'll be filming after this. 900 will be playing Omsk, and 1,000 will be playing Tabaritsky's Russia. So, you know, if you're interested in that, hit the sub button. If you have any comments, feedback, concerns, leave them in the comment section below. I read all the comments I get. I appreciate any all feedback you might have for me. If you want to chat or play games, I have a Discord down link below. If you want to send a few bucks my way, I have a Patreon. If you want to see me do this sort of stuff live, I have a Twitch. All of which are in the description box below. Thank you as always for watching, ladies and gentlemen. My name has been DB333. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.